Ari Lous Show.
All right, welcome everyone to today's episode of the Ari Lous Show here on Israel Sports and News Radio. Thank you for joining us. You can email us at any time at arilouisshow@hotmail.com, or you can email the station at israelsportsnewsradio@gmail.com. 2015 NHL season is over. Chicago Blackhawks victorious in 6 games, as I predicted and as my guest predicted. On the line right now from CBS, Israel Sports News Radio's NHL expert, Yossi G. Yossi, how you doing out there?
Good, thank God I will, Ari. How are you?
Thank God I'm doing good myself, and we're both right with our predictions. Let's talk about first this Chicago Blackhawks team, very successful in the last few years. Do you feel this team is a dynasty?
No. They did not win 2 cups in a row. Until you win 2 cups in a row, you're not a dynasty, period, end of story. It's not to take away anything that the Blackhawks have done, because what they've done over the last 6 years has been outstanding. But rules are rules. Until you win 2 titles, be it baseball, hockey, football, basketball, soccer, whatever it is, you're not a dynasty.
Ouch. Okay. What rule is that? Where was that written, the whole 2 thing? You have to win 2 in a row.
Well, look at all the so-called dynasties throughout sports. The one common denominator that they all have is that they won 2 titles in a row, at least 2 titles in a row, be it the Red Wings in the 90s, the Yankees, the late 90s, even the Patriots when they won 3 out of 4, but it was 2 Lombardi trophies in a row in the early 2000s. So all these teams, certainly of recent memory, who have won 2 titles in a row, yes, they are considered dynasty-type teams. The Chicago Blackhawks, they're the closest thing that the NHL has had to a dynasty since the Red Wings won back-to-back cups in the mid-late 90s. So I understand why people want to go and use that term dynasty, but I think it's a misrepresentation of what other teams have accomplished when they've won 2 titles in a row, because it just proves how difficult it is, especially in the NHL, to win two titles in a row.
Oh, so wow. I mean, you're really kind of opening up a whole new standard, maybe not a new standard, but you're definitely bringing a new idea to me. The San Francisco Giants, 3 World Series in 5 years. They're not a dynasty. The Spurs, 03, 05, 07, you don't consider them a dynasty either?
No, they're really, really good teams who play very well, who play the way the sport is supposed to be played, but they're not dynasties. The Spurs, one could argue, they're probably the epitome of what an NBA team wants to be. And as much as it pains me to say this, but Miami Heat, unfortunately, are considered a dynasty team because they won back-to-back titles.
All right, again, you're listening to the Ari Lous Show. Our NHL expert, Yossi G, is on the line. Let's talk about a very interesting situation with the Blackhawks in that they win this one. They're already the favorites next year, in your opinion? Do you think they're the favorites to win in 2016?
Well, I saw that there was a couple people who picked they and the New York Rangers as favorites to face off right now in the Stanley Cup next season. The thing, though, is that with the Blackhawks, there's going to be some question marks. There's another team. They're a year older. How many of their free agents are going to be back, and who will they be replacing should those free agents leave? But with the Rangers, the bigger questions are all surrounding the players that are likely not to be back, such as Marty Stanley, such as Cam Talbot, the backup goaltender, who essentially saved the Rangers season when Henrik Lundqvist was out for 6 weeks in February, March. So those players, certainly Marty Stanley is 40. He'll be 40 years old by next season. He's not a youngster anymore, but he still proved that he can bring something to the table. The question is, will the Rangers even entertain any type of a deal with him? Certainly something that's going to be a lot less monetarily than what he's gotten the past couple of seasons, about $5.5 million. So it'll be interesting to see what type of a pay cut, A, he's going to take, or B, he will be willing to take to stay in New York.
All right, and before we jump ahead to, or actually I should have asked this question first before 2016. You talk about the Blackhawks winning major reason Duncan Keith, he is the Conn Smythe winner, a unanimous selection. Do you think it was appropriate that he wins the MVP hockey award for the hockey MVP playoff award unanimously?
I think that having him win it is, you can't go wrong. I mean, you look at what he's done. He played close to 50% of all the Blackhawks playoff minutes. So that certainly isn't something to just rub off the side of the table. Playing that many minutes in hockey on a regular day is tough, let alone the playoffs where everything gets upped. The ante, so to speak, gets up in the postseason. So the fact that he got the Conn Smythe trophy, I'm not upset about that at all. He's as deserving as anybody else on the team. So I understand that he's the first defenseman to win it since Scott Niedermayer won it back in 2007, but he is certainly deserving of it. Especially in the last game, scoring the goal and having his presence felt throughout this series and throughout the postseason.
All right, we both picked the Blackhawks to win in 6. The reason I picked them is because I thought the Blackhawks just had more on the team, thought they were deeper, more talent. They ended up winning in 6. Was that the final thing that did it for them, that they had more to give, more to put on the ice, or were there other factors in your opinion?
I think the fact that the Blackhawks have been in this position before, they've been to the postseason, they've been to the Stanley Cup final, they've been here. They know what to expect. They know, when various nerves try to creep up, how to suppress them. So I think that at the end of the day, it's the experience that really counted. Superior goaltending by Corey Crawford throughout the series. This is a team, look, the Tampa Bay Lightning will be here. They only have one unrestricted free agent next season. This is a young core. They will be back. Look, the Chicago Blackhawks waited 49 years between cups before they won it in 2010. So to say that the Tampa Bay Lightning won't be back, well, that's I would say that's a silly thing to say. Should anybody be saying that? Not saying that you are saying that, but both the Chicago Blackhawks as well as the Tampa Bay Lightning will be back, and they'll be here for a while. I think the Tampa Bay Lightning I consider them to be the baby Blackhawks. These guys are the Blackhawks of 2007, 2008, right when they kind of got going. They had stars on the team in the making. I think this playoff run for the Bolts will really help them going forward, and it wouldn't surprise me if they find themselves in a similar position late in the postseason next year in the Final Four, or certainly possibly the last two teams standing.
All right, now the Blackhawks win this Stanley Cup during the Stanley Cup era, and when we had Dave Kane on a few years ago, you brought up, he was with the assistant coach of the Coyotes, and you were amazed at what the Coyotes were able to do, kind of handcuffed with all the restrictions, regulations. The salary cap is a very tough restriction to deal with, yet the Blackhawks were able to put 3 championship teams in this span. How do you think they were able to get that done with the salary cap era?
Well, the upper management for the Blackhawks is amazing, and they've been doing this since day one. Obviously, after their first title, a lot of people were up in arms with the amount of people who left the team. When you talk about guys who had so much of an impact on that first title team back in 2010, guys like Dustin Byfuglien, the biggest name was shipped out just simply because they couldn't afford to keep him. They certainly wanted to keep him, but they couldn't afford to keep him, and they had to really figure out who were going to be the guys that were going to stay here for a long time, and it seems like the upper echelon of the Blackhawks organization made those correct decisions, because right now, when you look at, besides for Joe Quenneville, the head coach, who has won 3 titles since he left the Colorado Avalanche organization, but Stan Bowman, who's been the GM for what seems like forever in Chicago. Certainly between he and Quenneville, they've been able to make the decisions that have fueled this run of championships over the last 6 years. And they making the right decisions really speaks volumes for the organization, from Hockey Wirtz, the chairman and owner of the team, all the way down to the head coach, down to the players. Besides for the mentality that the team has, it's everybody all together, all for one for all type of thing. It's still the team all throughout. Really, you get that vibe that everybody knows what they're in for, everybody knows what they are trying to accomplish, and that the organization has that understanding throughout from the top down really speaks volumes for the team and for the organization, and certainly for Stan Bowman to be able to make the right decisions by keeping guys like Duncan Keith and by keeping guys like Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane, but letting others go, making the right decisions as to who should stay and who should be shown the door. It certainly is. It's an amazing thing to watch.
All right, now, even though we're talking about the Stanley Cup Finals, I, of course, as you know, am a Coyotes fan, and there's a huge dispute going on right now with their arena in Glendale, and a lot of court stuff going on. What is the latest with them? You think the Coyotes will end up staying in Glendale, Arizona?
I think that this really speaks volumes for the NHL and for the Coyotes as an organization. This is a team that has been in Arizona for since the late 90s, and unfortunately, this is where the team has come to. I think that Glendale City Council, or whatever it was that voted, the Glendale officials that voted to basically kill the Coyotes arena deal, it will come back to bite them, because they will realize that the Coyotes are the only attraction in that area outside of the Arizona Diamondbacks. So even the Phoenix Suns, they play in Phoenix. For Glendale, this is the bread and butter for that city. And with the Coyotes potentially leaving town, and now it really shows me how, if Glendale is essentially saying, forget it, you guys are gone, why would the new ownership of, I believe it's Chris Nairn is the owner now, why would he want to keep his team in a place that doesn't want his team? So for me, that's the big deal there. And by the fact that everybody's essentially Rich Nairn, I'm sorry, not Rich Nairn, not Chris Nairn, by the fact that they're all at this impasse between the NHL and the Arizona Coyotes, and the city of Glendale are all at this impasse right now, really tells me that this is going to be an uphill battle. I believe that the city of Glendale is going to end up having their way, and the Coyotes are going to be left shortchanged without a place to play in the near future. And with that said, the NHL really has to think of a plan B as to where they could possibly relocate.
Okay. I mean, do you understand the reason exactly? Why would Glendale want to kick the team out? The arena is made for them. You have the Arizona Cardinals football stadium right there. Then you have the Coyotes where they play. I mean, it's a hockey arena. I've been there. It's made for hockey. Well, why would they not allow them to play there? Why would they not want them to be there?
Well, the city of Glendale hasn't really wanted a new arena for many, many years, because they right now they had the lease for the arena from they were 2 years into the 15-year agreement, and they already want out. It's not really about hockey right now. They consistently say that they want the Coyotes to stay, but only if it's a mutually beneficial approach to address various concerns that they have. And one of these things that they have the big issue is with the tax increases to the citizens, because by building a new arena, usually that's what ends up happening is the city pays for part of it, or the state, and that ends up coming out of the taxpayer dollars. And one of the issues that the city of Glendale has is essentially about the law being followed, and that they have the obligation as I believe it was the interim city assistant city manager said that they want to make sure that, I'm paraphrasing here, that they want to make sure that the citizens and the law, the obligation that they have to the law and the citizens come first. Now, what exactly that means? Are there any facts being withheld? I mean, right now they essentially terminated a 15-year, $225 million agreement that they had, citing a conflict of interest because the team hired 2 ex-Glendale employees to work for them. And the NHL is accusing the city of Glendale essentially trying to find some type of loophole to get out of the deal that they know that they didn't want to sign originally. And if this ends up getting ugly, and if it ends up intensifying relocation speculation, I mean, there are plenty of cities that are waiting in the wings for a hockey team. Seattle, Portland, Oregon. You also have up in Canada, Quebec City. There are places for them to go, but obviously the NHL would rather not have to move anybody unless their hand essentially is forced to move. I mean, this is a team that already moved to Arizona in '96 from Winnipeg, and they don't want to have to move them again. You're talking about twice in 20 years. That's a lot of moving.
All right, last question before I let you go. Chance it, 50-50, they end up moving, 40-60, 70-30. What happens, in your opinion, odds-wise?
Oh, I think this is a 60-40 possibility that they're going to move. I think at some point the NHL is just going to say, what the heck with this? You guys have to figure your stuff out. It's almost like what happened with the Islanders in Long Island. The whole, all the various things that Charles Wang, the owner or the former majority owner of the Islanders, wanted. They for the area where the Islanders were playing, when Nassau Coliseum was, from the lighthouse project and to build various things. I mean, he wanted to keep the Islanders in Long Island. He understood what the Islanders meant to Long Island, and by trying to do as much as he could to, propose various building sites and various ideas to perhaps make the Islanders the keystone of a larger project, or a new arena, the keystone of a larger project, Long Island essentially said, screw you, we don't want them. And so they moved to Brooklyn. The same thing, could that happen to the Phoenix Coyotes? It would be a sad thing for that to happen, but yes, I can very much see it happening. And the place that I would actually believe that they would end up moving to would probably be either Seattle, Washington, or to Quebec City.
All right, we'll keep an eye on all of that. Obviously, I hope Coyotes don't move. Want them to stay in Glendale. Yossi G from CBS breaking down not only the Stanley Cup Finals, the situation with the Coyotes in Glendale, Arizona. Yossi, thank you for being on the program. Great job as always. We'll speak soon.
All right, man. No worries.